Our thoughts generate emotions, these emotions generate actions, and actions generate results in the world. So, those who master their emotions, people with high emotional intelligence, are the ones who will generate constructive actions and spectacular results. To understand this, I want to tell the story of two men with different worldviews and goals who took two different paths. Let's start with Tullio. He divides the world into two types of people, leaders and subordinates, and in a world where only the strongest survive, you need to become a commander. He read a lot of Greek and Roman stories where heroes exhibited great virtues like courage and justice. They were leaders, not followers. Tullio was not born into a wealthy family and had to work hard to get where he wanted to be. This led him to believe that a person's life is the result of their actions and that we have complete responsibility for what happens in our lives. He always sought the best and thus became both physically and intellectually strong. One day, a homeless man asked him for change, and he saw someone who had given up. How can someone get to this point? How many mistakes must he have made to be in this situation? Why is he not doing something to get out of this hole instead of trying to take from those who have worked hard? He who made more decisions should bear the consequences of his actions, and so Tullio left without giving him anything, believing that everyone sooner or later sits down to a feast of consequences. Now, let's talk about Dante. He divides the world between those who can help and those who need help. His parents taught him that life is already hard enough, and those who have should serve those who do not. He also read a lot about various spiritual leaders who, with their wisdom and temperance, were examples of kindness and servitude. Dante grew up without difficulties and always felt a debt to the less fortunate. One day, a homeless man asked him for change, and he saw someone who was completely disadvantaged. How could society abandon this person? Where did we fail for this to happen? Why can I have so much while he has nothing? Life is so difficult and full of suffering. I myself could be in the same position as him. Dante then took all the money he had in his pocket, gave it to the man, and believed that he had made the world a better place to live in. These are two completely different worldviews shaped by everything they have experienced. Which perspective do you think is right? Let me know before we continue with this video. Actually, none of us here knows anything about the homeless person or what led them to this position. Without knowing, they could be either a troubled man or a victim of a poor environment and culture where they grew up. One person grew up with a structure of personal responsibility and strength, while the other grew up with a structure of collective responsibility and help. They only see it this way, but we who are here striving to be better people can go beyond. We can strive to control our emotions and bring these two worlds together by acting with a higher consciousness. We wouldn't be either garbage or Dante, we could become either depending on the circumstances. With greater emotional intelligence, we can perceive multiple layers of meaning and look at the homeless person and realize that they may be a result of their decisions or a product of society's failure, or both. So, how can we control our emotions? The first step is to recognize the emotions that are currently invisible to us and gain a new layer of meaning. Ask people how they feel, and when they ask you, respond with interest instead of complaining. Try to express what you are feeling instead of deflecting it onto others. After that, we need to differentiate and analyze these emotions. Many times, we say we are sad, but we may be feeling lonely, vulnerable, desperate, guilty, or hurt. We say we are angry, but we may be frustrated, furious, critical, aggressive, bitter, or humiliated. The truth is that there are many different emotions, and they all need to be dealt with differently. The third step is to accept these emotions because intrinsically, no emotion is good or bad on its own. They are only indicators. Take grief, for example. We try to avoid this feeling, but it shows how much we care for someone or something. Accepting grief makes us infinitely better. The fourth step is to reflect on the origins of these emotions. Knowing where they come from helps us with the fifth step, which is the most important, dealing with our own emotions. Each person has their way of dealing with their emotions. Some talk to a psychologist, while others write because writing is also a way of thinking. Some do a self-reflection, others read books about the feeling itself, some do sports, and others meditate. There are many ways, and how one does it is entirely up to them. Finally, we need to deal with other people's emotions. If you go through all these steps, you will see how much easier the last one becomes since you have achieved a different level of understanding. You have empathy and can tune in with the emotions of others. This is the pinnacle of emotional intelligence, and step by step, we can all get there. Thank you for staying until the end. A big hug, and be a better person.